Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about NASCAR.
They're turning left. It's NASCAR time.
We're turning left.
Woo! So full disclosure, I've never actually sat through a NASCAR race. I was supposed to go to Brickyard last year, but it got rained out. So my knowledge of NASCAR is through this research and through NASCAR video games.
Yeah, that's fair. I've seen some NASCAR races, never an entire one, not live. I dated a girl for a while whose stepdad was super into NASCAR, and so I kind of got a little bit of just the flavor of it. Not my thing. I don't like racing, but how it started is
interesting and fun, and that's what this is. This is NASCAR, the origin story.
We're not doing the Bubba Wallace, current event stuff.
Okay, current event, because I was like, I don't know who the hell Bubba Wallace is. Okay, wait, no, now it clicked. Current events. No, not so much on the current events.
So so how far back are we going?
Well, it depends on how far back you want to go. I mean, technically speaking, part of the origins
back to the car, right?
Part of the origins goes all the way back to the Whiskey Rebellion back here.
Okay.
In a roundabout, logical way. So
you can make the connections if you
can make the connection. Yes, very much so. So if you are at home and you do not know what NASCAR is, their official name is the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing.
I always forget that it's an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym.
I don't know why, because what the hell is a NASCAR? I mean, that's not like a thing that exists, but I always forget that, like most sports, their official title is an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym. It was founded by a man named Bill France Sr. Pretty much NASCAR has been ruled by the France family, and I think even still to this day, they're still ruled by the France family, for better or worse. It was founded in 1948 and headquartered in Daytona Beach, Florida. Who doggy?
So 1948 is the founding of the official
NASCAR league,
right?
But not when these type of races started. No, we go even before then. So
that's when it's the official legit sports league.
Yeah, this official legit.
Who
doggy? We're going to go racing.
And now it's stock car racing, but obviously they do.
What we have now is not. Yeah, we're going to get there because
the stock cars. Okay.
Yeah, because what we have now is not at all even remotely what it started at, because it is not stock. There's nothing. We're jumping. Damn it, Johnny!
I do this to you.
We're jumping at you. We're jumping. You're like a damn mind reader here. Wait. We'll get there.
I'm struck with curiosity, is what it is.
Struck with curiosity, Johnny.
I can't wait to get to it.
I do have to admit, I did some good research, and then I watched a couple documentaries. I read some, read some notes and stuff, and it's meriting at least a short video for us. So
that's excellent. A while ago I saw a post on Imgur, I think, that talked a little bit about the origins of NASCAR, and that's about the extent of my research. That was like 3 years ago, probably.
Yeah. Well, damn it, Johnny, where does it start? It starts with pretty much where most of the fans of NASCAR are, good old-fashioned American Rednecks.
Oh, yeah. So we're
Appalachia region. Yep.
Appalachia?
In the Appalachia region.
Okay.
So as far back as the early 1920s, I'm going to start why Daytona's the head, and then I'm going to start with the racing. So Daytona Beach in the early 1920s becomes the center for the world for land speed records. So the first land speed records were set in 1903 at what would eventually become like Daytona Beach's road course. So I don't know why it becomes the racing capital, but for whatever reason.
Well, I would imagine Florida's terribly flat.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's the capability. They hadn't gotten to the point where they needed the salt flats yet, or whatever they use that for now, or why they use that.
Well, they use the salt flats because it's flat.
Yeah, you can actually create a very, very long, very, very flat road. So I imagine that has something to do with why that.
I do. The original road course had something like a 2-mile straightaway at one point, so that's probably also part of it. A good long bit of straight road.
Yep.
And it used to be France and Belgium used to have like the race courses for the land speed, but it all moves basically down to Daytona in the 1920s.
Okay. And so I don't.
Yeah.
You might not know this. What kind of land speeds were we looking at for the records back then?
Well, Johnny, so the first one that was raced that was in Daytona was on 1903 between Ransom Olds and Alexander Vinton, and it would set 15 different records for speed, and which would, like I said, became the Daytona Beach Road course. So in 1903, you're looking at Model T cars. You know what? Shit, I don't even know if they're Model Ts yet. So I'm guessing like your land speed record is 10 miles an hour. Like
I would love to see like yeah.
I didn't look it up. No, I should have. But I'm guessing between 10 and 20 miles an hour is probably like the land speed record.
You talk a little bit. I'm gonna try to find it because I'm guessing other
Johnny,
people are
you
gonna
try to find it. I'll keep running around. So basically, that's what sets up Daytona as the headquarters for what becomes racing in the United States and why NASCAR eventually does become founded there. But
Tommy,
the other big reason.
Pause. Yep. You are gonna be blown away. You ready for this?
All right. Okay.
On June 16th, 1903, Ford incorporated a new company, the Ford Motor Company. January the following year, Ford set his record at Lake St. Clair. So this might be a little bit later, but around
a little bit later race, yeah.
Racing 1 mile and 39 seconds for a record speed of 91.37 miles per hour.
Jesus Christ.
In 1903.
How the hell did they manage that in 1903? Well, I am color me pink. I am shocked.
I guess 1904, but in any case, yeah.
Still, no, even in 1904.
So they're kind of flying back then. And
you've got like the Model T was a commercial guy, and it would go a whole whopping like 10 miles an hour. Like,
could you imagine how terrifying the vehicles that they went those speeds at that time in must have been?
Wagon wheels. I mean, the wheels in the Model T are like bicycle wheels.
That would be just horrifying.
Call me. Nope. I don't want to do that. Well, hell, even more credit to these guys then. The other big part of the story, the true part of the story, is bootlegging.
Yeah.
So as far back as the Whiskey Rebellion, Americans have been making illegal whiskey, illegal liquor, rum, whatever you want to call it.
As soon as they made it illegal to do it, they were officially making it illegal. Yeah. They've been making it forever. It's just at some point they decided, it's illegal to do that. And they're like, we're going to keep doing it anyway.
In 1790s, when they made it, tax the whiskey, that's when bootlegging became, bootlegging got its start.
And so that's the parallel you're drawing then.
That's my parallel that we're drawing.
That bootlegging thread is a common thread.
Yeah. Fast forward until Prohibition in the 1920s. Well, bootlegging now becomes big business because it's illegal to make any kind of alcohol, whether it's liquor or not. And this isn't just to avoid taxes. It's a weird period of time when we gave women the rights to vote, and then they initially used it to get rid of liquor because reasons.
Well, wasn't it kind of because all the white women were going to black jazz clubs and they didn't like that, and so they wanted to make it illegal?
Yeah. Well, all the rich, stuck-up white women were mad because their children were going to the jazz clubs.
Yeah. They didn't want those white women listening to jazz and hanging out. We don't
want our white teens smoking those jazz cigarettes.
Well, it's the same. I was gonna say it's the same reason marijuana was made illegal.
Yeah, pretty much. So in the Appalachian region is where bootlegging really gets its start after Prohibition. Now, if you're one of our foreign listeners, when I say Appalachian region, I'm not referring to the mountain range that actually extends all the way up into Canada and then all the way down through the entire eastern United States seaboard.
Right.
No. When we say Appalachian region, we mean West Virginia south. We mean dueling banjos, cousins marrying cousins. I got my uncle brother there.
Western Virginia, a little bit into Tennessee. You got the North Carolina. That kind of area has its own very unique, distinct set of people there.
Well, these guys, once Prohibition came in, said, well, hell, I've been making shine for years, so I'll just continue making it, and then I'll sell it Okay,
Yeah,
not a problem.
sure.
Before this, they were doing this anyways, and moonshine gets its name because most of these stills were in those mountains, in the
Hmm.
backwoods. You brew it at night. You run your stills at night, so that way the smoke is obscured from the darkness. So
Yeah.
you can't. Well, there's a still in them darn hills.
Yeah, and to this day, if you want legit moonshine, you have
That's where
to
you're
go
going.
down to the Appalachian region. It's kind of like I guess the whiskey. If you want to, whiskey versus bourbon or whatever, or champagne, it has to
If
be
you
from a
want good
specific
old
area. If you
shine,
want real moonshine,
which
it's got to be from there.
shine is corn whiskey unaged. That's really all shine is. You just
Yeah.
got corn whiskey, not aged in any kind of barrels.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are thrown in there to expedite the whole fermentation process, which is where the
Yeah.
whole people go blind thing comes from.
Well, the blue people and all that.
Yeah, it happens. But in any case, these moonshiners become very popular at this point in time, and now the law enforcement is obviously aware of. Well, we now have to kind of enforce it. So before they were just avoiding taxes, but now they're overtly breaking a constitutional
That's
law,
right.
Johnny. So we've got to
Have
go
that.
after them. So these shiners then turn to the automotive industry and go, look, I need a way to transport large quantities of my shine as quickly as possible without the ability to get caught by the police, but without attracting the attention of the police.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
they take their standard Ford Model T, they use trucks, they use cars, they use coupes, they use convertibles, they use any vehicle that they could get their hands on. And what they would do is they would go over and they would overhaul the entire vehicle, new suspension system to help accommodate the weight of the new shine. They would create hidey holes in the vehicle for the shine. They would a lot of times rip out the whole back seat, put a hidey hole underneath the back seat, and then build a new seat on top of it. And they would overhaul the carburetors so you get a little bit more juice to the gas.
Yeah.
They'd overhaul the engines, put whole new engines in them. They'd overhaul the transmission so you'd actually have faster transmission. So from the outside, it looks like a shitty old truck, but damn it, Johnny,
Yeah.
on the inside,
Underneath, it's a beast.
that thing
What
can fly.
what blows me away is, I mean, this is right, a couple decades after the first car ever.
Yeah.
It blows me away that people have the knowledge, the know-how, the ability, the parts available
To figure
to
this out.
do these types of things. Like, I get it nowadays. It's like I could go, I have zero knowledge working on cars. I could go to some aftermarket website and order some aftermarket parts and watch a YouTube video and figure out how to put it in. But like these people are just like, well, yeah, it makes it go boom, and we can make it go boom faster and louder, and we'll make that a little stronger. And here we go. Let's do it.
Some of these cars actually ran off shine itself because they learned the high octane shine
That burns too.
that burns real good.
Oh yeah.
Might give you an extra couple boosts of horsepower. If
Probably
you want
really
to,
good for the engine too, I'm sure.
if you're at home and you want a good kind of fun movie, I'm not saying this is a phenomenal movie by any stretch of the imagination, but Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy did a movie about this time frame where they're running shine in cars. Oh God, what the hell was the name of that movie? Now I'm talking about it, and I forgot the hell.
Oh, come on, man.
Anyways, it'll come to me. Just look up Shia LaBeouf, Tom Hardy, Moonshine movie.
Yeah, if you want to watch it, just go into Shia
It's great.
LaBeouf's IMDb and scroll through the bottom until you get to it.
Yeah, there's like 5 movies he's done. Anyway, it's lawless. The movie's lawless. It's not a great movie, but it kind of gives you that feel of what they were doing at this time frame.
Little
with vehicles.
perspective.
To make matters even worse for the police, these drivers knew the roads inside and out. So this is like your good old-fashioned country boy who knows every little shortcut in and out of the woods.
Oh
They
yeah.
can drive those. They know like the back of their hand. They can drive at night. And these guys would get in chases with the police intentionally, get in down these back roads, shut their lights off, quickly turn off into a ravine where like the police didn't know, and then the police would go head far into a tree or head far into a ditch or and they would do that shit intentionally just to piss them,
All right.
just to piss them the wind.
So here's my question then. How did these little basically rally car badass drivers turn a sport from that into, instead of rally car, just turn it into we're just going to turn left?
Well, now that part I still don't. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. But how it becomes a start of a sport is these guys and their off time. Well, they're bored. They're shiners, so they're drinking. You know they're bored during the daytime when they're not really going to be running the shine during the daytime. So these guys, hey, I bet my truck's faster than your car.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
I mean,
Dog? And they begin racing each other.
The entire history of mankind is, I'll bet my thing that I do is better than your thing that you do. And so this is just an extension of that. It's like, oh yeah, hey guys, look, we made all these cars and now they're better and faster than the cop cars. Like all of them, all of these are. They're like, yeah, but mine's faster than yours. They're like, well, what's the matter? They're both faster than cop cars. No, mine's faster than yours. So, all right, let's prove it. Let's go.
There's another story in here about how modern politics with militarized police, and we wonder, like, why did the police ever get militarized? It's from shit in the Great Depression and Prohibition, because these criminals had faster cars, better guns.
Yeah, the cops are like, guys, how are we supposed to arrest them when everything they have is better than us?
In any case, December 5th, 1933, Prohibition ends because the United States realizes that was a bad idea. Hey, look,
turns out we didn't stop anything.
Crime. Oops.
Well, what's nice, though, is that they learned their lesson and have given up on the drug wars that they've been going on for, however many years. And they learned that it wouldn't
very
work.
much, right? But this didn't stop the shiners, because by this time, everybody in the South, even to this day, the Southerners like their shine. I myself am not admitting that I ever have gotten legal shine. Or illegal shine. Yeah, illegal shine.
You better have gotten legal shine.
No, I've never bought illegal shine.
Which legal shine is basically just like flavored
legal shine
vodka.
Is shit. Yeah, legal shine is like 30 proof.
Yeah.
Or like 30%. Like it is not
30%. It's like 60.
Yeah,
60 to 70.
It's like 60 proof. It is not shine. If you want, not for the taste, but for the alcohol experience. If
you don't do shine for the taste.
Well, no, but if you want the alcohol experience, you got to get like Everclear would be the equivalent of the closest you can get to legal
the strength.
Shine. Yeah, to legal shine.
Yeah, I had a guy that used to come into Deer Creek when I was working there, a little bar, and he used to bring in shine, and he brought it from a guy who lived down in Tennessee who brewed his own shine, and it was like the legit, and he had like an apple pie shine once, and other than just burning the shit out of my throat and mouth, you could taste the apple pie.
Yeah,
like it was good. Like it wasn't too bad. So,
if you want to know at home how you could get away with legal, because in the United States, even to this day, it is illegal to distill alcohol unless you get a license for fuel. Wink.
Distill like grain alcohol, or because like you can make beer.
Yeah, you can make beer, but you cannot distill liquor.
Oh, distill.
So
right.
you can ferment any alcohol you want,
gotcha.
But you cannot distill it. So that's what the illegal part is without a license, which is stupid. But you can get a license to make the for fuel for cars, which pure ethanol for cars you can still drink.
Why would people want to make their own fuel? Sounds terrible.
Well, nobody does. Everybody who has that license is drinking it. I think the government knows. They're like, it's fine. You're just making it for your car.
Yeah, they just don't care anymore.
In any case, so people are still running, but obviously they have a little bit more downtime on their hands because, well, Shine's not as big of a business running it anymore. You're not running, shiploads up to Chicago. You're not having to do that anymore. You're basically selling it to your Joe Smo neighbor down the street.
Yeah, it's the same problem that all the like pot dealers are having out in like Colorado and California and everything. It's like, yeah, you could still grow it and sell it or whatever, go to your local dealer or whatever, but it's just easier and more convenient, and now it's legal to just go to a store and buy it. So
liquor store and buy it. Yeah, and really Shine isn't it's not the most tastiest beverage in the world.
No, it's what you would drink if alcohol were illegal and you needed to get drunk.
Yeah, pretty much. So now that they have a lot more time on their hands, a lot more of these informal races start brewing up. So enter Big Bill France Sr. Big Bill France.
Big Bill France.
Big Bill France is a driver, mechanic, and legend has it a shiner himself, a shine runner himself, and he is a big speed freak. Although I'm not entirely sure if I believe the legend of him being a shiner, but he has that legend as him.
Yeah,
as a kid,
the way things happen is people start to get assigned all sorts of different things that they never did when they become a icon of some sort.
Of some sort. Yep. As a kid, he would skip school and he would take his souped-up Model T Ford around a high-banked 1.5 mile an hour or 1.5 mile track near Laurel, Maryland. So right where his hometown was, there was a little track. He would skip school, go race around on that track until he had to literally race home to beat his dad home, so that his dad didn't know he skipped school and
Sounds
was
to
at the
me
track.
like this is a little rich kid.
Probably.
I mean, who the hell can skip school and steal their car at 19, 20, 30, whatever the hell it was?
Uh, he'd eventually open up himself a mechanic shop after he graduated high school or just quit high
Or
school
just
altogether.
stop
I'm guessing
doing
he quit
school.
high school
What's the
altogether.
point?
And he boosted his reputation by giving guys jumps in the winter around Washington, D.C. So he's living around Washington, D.C., had a little mechanic shop around Washington, D.C. This is back before we have YouTubes and the Facebooks and all that fun stuff. So how he got his word out there is this is back in the day when you had to literally put a crank into an engine and go.
Okay, yeah.
And in that winter time, it is super fucking hard to do that. So
Yeah, I
he would go
imagine
around
so.
and start people's vehicles for him.
Nice guy.
Good on him. But Johnny, do you remember what happened in the mid 1930s?
Oh, I doubt it.
Pretty much right after Prohibition ended.
Was it that whole? Oh gosh, there was something.
Was it Black Tuesday or Black Thursday that started it all off?
I don't think it was Thursday. No, it was Friday.
It doesn't matter. Stock market collapse. We got the Great
Oh
Depression.
shit, that
Remember that
happened
whole shit?
right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
1929, right?
Yeah, so the stock market's out. We got the Great Depression rolling on. By the mid 30s, shit is awful everywhere. I can only imagine how bad it was in D.C. Go to D.C. today, you've got an ass ton amount of people who are homeless. I can only imagine how bad that was in 1935. So in 1935, Big Bill moves his entire family all the way down to Daytona Beach because he hears that Daytona is now the place for you if you want to go for racing. So with $100 in his pocket, he makes his way on down there. He begins by painting houses, and he opens up his own mechanic shop, which actually to this day still stands at 316 Main Street in Daytona Beach.
That's pretty cool.
It still stands. His mechanic shop's still there.
I mean, that's got to be like a pilgrimage type site for
I'm
hardcore
sure for NASCAR.
fans, right?
It's got to be. Yeah, if you're a NASCAR fan and you pilgrimage there,
yeah, go visit it. Go get your car worked on like one of the original mechanic shops. That's amazing,
right? He noticed the popularity of racing in the region, and he calls for a meeting with a bunch of other drivers in the area on March 8th, 1936. This collection of drivers brought their coupes, hardtops, convertibles, sport cars to compete in a race that was filled with a combination of dirt track, hard track. So this is your first like real. What are those? They have them in Europe all over the place. Those rally sport races where
it's a rally car race. Yeah,
basically, yeah. You've got dirt.
Yeah, it's a multi-surface. Yeah, it's not an actual rally car because it's not through woods and stuff, but it's a multi-surface type race.
Yeah. Yep. He has this race. It goes on. During this first race, there are 27 cars that participate, and only 10 manage to survive the whole ordeal because
it's actually more than I thought it was going to be. To tell you the truth.
Well, you got like convertibles racing on ground that they shouldn't be racing on.
Yeah.
Shit's breaking everywhere. These old vehicles aren't the most reliable thing in the world anyways.
No, I imagine suspensions were some of the first things to go.
Oh, I'm sure. The race has to be called off. In that 10-car finish is kind of a misnomer because the race actually doesn't get finished. They have to stop 10 miles short of their projected 250-mile distance. So they stop at 240 miles because basically everybody's cars at this point taking a shit.
So like the first big race ends on a caution flag, basically, on what would become a caution flag.
Yeah, exactly. Milt Marion is the declared winner, and Bill France himself participates, and he places fifth. So he is one of the cars that does survive.
You know, you don't run into too many Milts these days. I wonder if that's a name that'll ever make a comeback, or if that's just we've seen the last of the Milts.
We might have seen the last of the Milts. I think the Milts are dying right now. With the last of them are dying with Corona.
Is it short for Milton, or is it just?
Yeah, I'd imagine it's short for Milton.
I would guess, but who knows?
I'm not a nameologist.
I'm sure that's what the proper term is for that too.
I'm sure. He continues to have his mechanic shop working on these race cars, and he becomes a big promoter of these races. This becomes a event that happens there.
People liked it, had fun, and probably
it was great. Bill knew that racing was popular, and he thought stock car racing would catch on. So over the next few years of running this Daytona event, he basically takes over this race in Daytona, redoes it every single year. After a few years of running it, he comes up with a great idea. I want to create a national sport out of this, a racing league, because, well, there aren't really any rules right now, and anybody can bring whatever vehicle they want. So
Right.
if you have enough money, you're going to win, because you're going to have the car that has all the souped up shit to it.
It's a very early version of pay to play.
Pay to play, exactly.
It's the more you can pay, that you're going to get level ups, you're going to get bonuses, you're going to get your engine souped up, and boom.
He also noticed that there were managers for racers that were not the most reputable individuals in the world, and oftentimes the driver would have to wind up paying the manager at the end of the race, even if they won, because the managers had a habit of skimming some money off the top and lying about what they were actually. Oh, it will cost like $500 to enter this race, and the purse is $5 is what you get.
So basically, what you're saying is sleazeballs will chase money no matter where it goes.
Yeah, very much so. By 1947, he had convinced enough drivers and managers that rules should probably be made, and he made an announcement of the quote National Championship Stock Car Circuit, also known as the NCSCC. He tried.
Doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
No, it really doesn't. You can't. It's not NASCAR. It's NISCS. He tried to get the AAA, which at this time the AAA was the big like automotive industry dominant giant. It's not the roadside guys that they are today. It was actually a large giant. He tried to get them to financially back this new venture, and they said, "Yeah, we're good. We watched your last race where 90% of the vehicles died, and that's going to cost us an ass ton of money on roadside assistance. We don't want to do that, so
that's fair.
We'll bow out of that."
I mean,
so he
probably a mistake from them, but long term. But I can see where they could be like, yeah, we can't just dump money into something like that and just keep repairing these cars to go and crash and die again.
So France winds up funding this mostly on his own pocket and by money raised in ticket sales. Yeah, rich kid-ish. I mean, he did like, only have $100 in his pocket when he came down to the mechanic shop, but he does have a little bit of money.
Oh, he had more money before that. He was racing his dad's car. He just left. You know who just leaves like that? Rich kids who don't know any better.
Yeah, probably. He did promise a 7-event race. He did have 24 participants that raced with him, and he did in fact pay out his promised $1,000 to the winner of the season. So
what's that equivalent? Do you know?
I did not. I'll keep talking. You look it up. So $1,000 is 1947. 1947. So he promised $1,000 to the season winner and an additional $3,000 to the participants, split between them based on final position of what they placed in. So second place would get a bigger prize than third, and it would go on down the line. And unlike the failed, football ventures that were professional football back in the early 70s and 60s that were like, we got professional football, that's not National Football League. He actually did pay his people. Not a lot of money, but he did pay them.
So $11,000 in
$1,000.
$1,000. Sorry, $1,000 in 1947 is $11,952. So about $12,000 today.
Yeah, not bad.
Nothing to scoff at. Something, especially for like what it equates.
1947. I mean, we're right out of World War II.
And if you went into like an amateur race today, like the little midget cars or the mini cars or whatever, stuff like that, like they're not getting $10,000, $12,000 prize packages.
Nope, sure not. I do have to say that I am a little bit disappointed that he gave everybody a little bit of money. I mean, losers shouldn't get trophies. Losers shouldn't get paid. But here we are. It's America in the South, and apparently they think losers get attention. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, NASCAR's kind of official flag is a loser's flag, so they kind of don't mind rewarding second place.
It's not their official flag anymore, John.
Oh, that's right. They canceled that. Okay. Well, at the time.
In any case, at the end of the season, he didn't announce a series of meetings to pound out finalized rules and to really make this an official, legit thing, because it went over well. 7 races. People loved it.
Yeah.
Great. Let's expand this a little bit. These meetings began on December 14th, 1947, at the Streamline Hotel in Florida. And Johnny, it's here during these meetings where NASCAR
Woo!
is born. He wanted a new series of races that will combine several different races around, like different circuits. So he
Yeah,
had this
different
idea for
tracks.
multiple different things. He proposed a new name instead of the NCSCC, which doesn't roll off the tongue, as the National Stock Car Racing Association, which was already taken.
What?
So, yeah, they had to. He's
Someone
like, well, we
just
can't use
patented
that one.
that, or
Somebody's already taken it. There's already a National Stock Car Racing Association. So he came up with his own original name, the National Association of Stock Car Racing.
brilliant.
Ooh,
Yeah,
real original. But to his credit, you can
it's
NASCAR.
it's way better.
You can't
Way,
NASCAR.
yeah, you go
So
ahead and tell me what the national or whatever stock car associate. Where are they now? What are they doing
probably
with
not in
themselves?
existence. Or
That
maybe
might be
they're actually
another
still
episode.
racing
What the hell
stock
happened
cars
to them?
because officially the founding date is February 21st, 1948, and there were 3 divisions. It started with modified, roadster, and strictly stock.
Okay,
So modified was any stock vehicle that
it was
you
basically
put
open,
open. It's your
right?
open division. Any stock vehicle that you wanted to put shit in, you can race.
Bring it and race it.
Roadster was you have there's a class this time there's a class of cars that were roadsters. So
Yeah, they
basically
were like the small 2-seaters.
Yep.
They had the wheels out to the side. I mean, kind of early on, like IndyCar almost look.
Exactly. And that's where the popularity does
Was
not
that where
go
that
so
went
well.
off to?
Yeah. And then you have strictly stock, which is by definition strictly stock. You go to
buy
your
it from a
dealer,
dealership and
you
you
buy
bring
from
it
a
in.
dealer. That's what you race. You cannot do anything else to it.
How long did that last?
The modified roadsters were initially thought to be probably the more popular of the two, as they featured modified cars, souped up cars that go at higher speeds.
Yeah,
They think
right.
that would have been the one that would go off. But in the first year, NASCAR fans hated the roadsters because that was a dirty northern thing that we don't like. It was a Midwestern thing.
It's
it
a
was a northern
hoity-toity
Yankee thing. They do that up in Boston, and we don't like that open wheel shit.
You know what's funny? It's exactly like that now, only it's moved over to those fucking Europeans with their their IndyCar or
Formula
F1
One
or whatever the hell it is. What are they
Same damn
even
thing.
doing? Like, they're just racing science. They're not racing racers.
No, there's no talent to it. You just get in a car and go 18 million miles an hour. Who cares?
Oh, holy shit! I couldn't get an IndyCar moving. Like
No,
I saw one a Top Gear where they raced like a F3 or something. Like they brought like a whole crew. Like it was an experience that
Well,
you
don't
could
you
do.
have to push start in F1
so they
anyways?
did it. No, but you have to go through like this whole process of warming up the tires and everything and doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
Like it's like an hour-long process before you can like take off in this car. And then like you start going and it's just so much that you lose it and stall it. And Richard Hammond was trying to do a lap in one of these things and just I don't think he ever got a lap complete.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, those cars are terrifying too because it's like, hey, if you go under 130 miles per hour on this turn, you're gonna die. You have to go over 130 miles per hour.
You know what, Johnny?
To get the downforce to provide the grip. It's like, what the? No.
I think it was you who told me about the races up in like Fishers or whatever, where they race like boats and shit, like boat trailers and stuff.
So
I want to start a minivan racing league. That's what I want to do.
So
I love my minivan. I want to get behind the wheel and race my minivan.
Yeah, Anderson, Indiana, and I'm sure countless numbers of other small racetracks around the United States do this thing where they have school bus races, they have trailer races, and they have like legit like mini car and small thing races, but it's like a quarter-mile dirt track, has a figure 8 through the middle. And one of the races is literally any vehicle you want, put a trailer on it, put whatever you want in the trailer, and we're going to do a figure 8 race. And so people are putting like washers and dryers on it. They're putting bricks on it. They are putting boats and pulling boats behind it. And the whole idea is they're going to race around. They're going to lose their cargo. Someone else is going to crash into it, and they're just going to keep on going. It is the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I imagine like there was a whole lot of like stuff like that going on in these types of early NASCAR races and everything.
Damn it, Johnny, we need to do a historic hindsight like live show at one of those races when they open back up, if they haven't already opened back up. I gotta see this.
Absolutely a lesson in humanity, if nothing else.
We've gotta do a live show on that. But in any case, Roadsters pretty much died right off the bat. They made it that first year with NASCAR, and then they were gone. So you're left with modified and stock. Now, initially, stock car races were well, they had a little bit of a hiccup because it's 1948. It's post-World War II. Everybody's come back home from the war that survived. They got a little bit of extra money in their pocket because they did get some bonuses from being in the military. And a lot of these people, like, this is post-depression, so they didn't have a lot of money before going in. Now they're coming back with the military. They've got actual pay.
Got a little money burning a hole in their pocket.
The United States thought we'll spur the economy by just giving credit cards to people, to everybody. And this was a new time when credit cards were like new. And so people were buying everything, including automobiles. Yeah. So the first year for stock car racing was a little bit difficult to start because the drivers couldn't find them. Stock cars. They're like, well, I've got my souped up Roadster or my souped up modified, but I can't race that in the stock. And I can't out over buy here. I can't go out and buy a new Model A. So what the hell am I supposed to do?
Yeah, they're sold out and they're on back order until next year or whatever.
So that first year was a little bit rough. And the first stock car race actually didn't occur until June 19th, 1949, a full year and a half after the founding of NASCAR.
Okay.
But when it did start, it started in Charlotte Speedway, but not the same Charlotte Motor Speedway that exists today. This was a different track, I guess. I don't know. Same name, different track.
Same location, though, still Charlotte.
North Carolina. Still Charlotte. Yep. The winner of that race was Jim Roper, only because a true winner, Glenn Dunaway, was disqualified because they found out that his car had a modified rear spring suspension system. He got disqualified he wanted a more comfortable road. Like, he wanted a more comfortable trip around the track.
It sounds to me like he didn't know what the word stock meant.
Well, so he got disqualified.
Well, it was stock when I bought it. Yes, and then you put a new suspension on it, you jackwagon.
From the 1950s to the 1960s, strictly stock division became the most popular. But, safety is a thing, and these cars as stock being pushed to the limit and then crashing wasn't the most safe thing in the world for the drivers. Again, this is an age where, crumple zones don't exist. This is an all-steel vehicle that's going 100+ miles an hour, crashing into a wall.
Could you imagine,
that whole blunt force is going into the body? Yeah,
like the automobile manufacturers finding out about stock racing. Like, wait, they're taking our cars and doing what with them? Like, we don't test for that.
We don't want that liability. Yeah,
you can't go that fast.
This isn't the 1990s PSA.
Trap.
Yeah, this isn't the PSA. The crash test dummy guys. No. Who are like, buckle up your seatbelts. They didn't even have seat.
No, they're like, what the hell is a crash? What the hell is a safety rating?
And even better, if you put a seatbelt in one of the cars because they weren't stock, you would get disqualified.
Yeah, you can't even make it safer.
So,
which, to be fair, I'm guessing these psychopaths that are willing to do this, they're not of sound mind.
No,
they're probably risk takers and crazy. They're not going to put a seatbelt in it anyway. They don't give a shit.
These guys are drinking shine and going, let's race.
They're like, let's go fast, buddy. We're going to go real fast.
Hell yeah, they're going to go real fast. So after about a decade of doing this, Speedway decided to make not Speedway, but NASCAR decided to make some accommodations. Like, look, the engine has to stay stock. The transmission has to stay stock. You can modify the suspension. You can put roll cages in. You can, you have to put seatbelts in.
Basically, they started trying to improve safety and control with the suspension and the roll cages and stuff. They're like, all right, we're tired of people. I mean, did people die or?
Yeah, there were a few
Yeah,
dozen.
yeah, that's bad for business. If you're starting a new business and it starts killing people, just so you know, unless you're
I
like
mean,
a gun manufacturer, that's bad for business.
w- now to be fair to the gun industry, damn
I'm
it,
talking
Johnny, now
about
you
like
got me going.
Lockheed
Now, no,
Martin
no,
military
we're
style. Like that's where I'm
now
going
we're
with it.
sidetracked. Now, in defense of Smith and Wesson, unless it's an accidental shooting, like little Timmy found the gun, if the gun kills somebody, it functioned fine.
Right?
It
Yeah,
did its
yeah, yeah,
job.
yeah.
So, other than little Timmy getting it, and that's the parents' fault. That's the parents' fault. Put that shit. Anyways, beside the point.
Guns
Beside the
don't
point.
kill people. People kill people.
I hate that line though too.
But the
So
gun helps.
the gun does help
To quote Eddie
quite a
Izzard.
bit. Yeah, quote Eddie. Oh man, I love Eddie Izzard. By the late 1960s, they completely abandoned the idea of a true stock car and said,
Okay.
"Look, you can modify the engines now under these guidelines.
Okay.
You
Is
can
it
modify
like
the transmissions
horsepower
now."
capping or
Yes,
what?
yeah. So
Okay.
it's just like it's kind of like what it is today. There are horsepower caps. There are caps on like what you can't put like a 20 shift transmission in it or whatever. And
Right. It has to have a
you
specific transmission type and
yeah, and a specific
I'm sure the
horsepower
suspension. I'm
cap, that
sure
kind of
it's
stuff.
pretty regulated in car style and design since they all look exactly the same no matter who you get them
Well,
from now
but
in
even
NASCAR.
but in the late 1960s, when these new rules came in place and they allowed you to improve the performance of the vehicle, they still said the outside of the vehicle has to be stock. So it
Okay.
has to look like a vehicle you can go out and buy in your store.
Right. So
So they were
basically, they
racing.
said, okay, fine. We're going to go back to the very roots of what this was. And you're going to make a
And
car that looks stock, but you can do what you want to it
inside.
inside.
Yeah, exactly. They went back to the roots. Exactly. Thank you. They went right back to the roots. And in the 1970s, if you look at some historical photographs from like NASCAR racing early on in like the 70s, 80s, they had some pretty phenomenally awesome looking cars. They had the what was it, the Pontiac Superbird, that thing with a really tall like rear spoiler fender that
Yeah.
was like a stock car that you could buy. That thing was out there racing. It looked badass.
That would be
They had
cool to see.
Camaros out there racing. It looked badass. They had Mustangs out there racing. They looked badass. Well, then the late 90s and early 2000s came along and they just for whatever reason decided to like get rid of that idea of the outside look stock, and now all their cars have the same, for the most part, body style. I mean,
Well, it's
when I did,
basically what they have now is they have a shell that they put over
yeah, like a
car
fiberglass
body.
shell.
It's like
Yeah.
those cars that you can get that like they make them that are, I mean, they're crazy expensive, but you can buy just a bottom of a car. It's just everything else, and then you can buy replaceable like fiberglass or plastic, whatever the hell, covers for them, and you can change the look of it. But it's like going from like a Civic to a CRV
Yeah, when I
type thing. It's the
did,
same engine, same body, but they change a little bit.
so when I was a kid in middle school playing NASCAR on my PlayStation 1, I loved Terry Labonte. He was
I
my
love
favorite
that you've
driver.
always played NASCAR games. I've
I
never
did.
played a single NASCAR game
The
in my
thing is,
life.
like, I've played basketball games. I hate basketball in real life. But I
That's why
play
I
basketball
love it
games. I
about
love
you.
them. I play golf games, Tiger Woods. But I did golf for a little bit, but I don't golf, and I don't
Right.
want to watch it on TV, and I don't give a shit about what's actually going on. I play NASCAR games.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about NASCAR, but damn it, I love racing the NASCAR games. So I was playing, back in the day when I was watching. Even then, they still had at least like they were racing. Chevy had the Monte Carlo. You
Right.
can go out and buy a Monte Carlo. It looked like what NASCAR was racing.
Yeah, just without all the sponsors painted on it.
Yeah, but
the
now
body
it's
body was the
completely gone.
same.
Ford,
And,
yeah, Ford looks like the Dodges, look like the Chevys, look like the Toyotas.
Yep.
They all look the exact same, and you can't buy. Like, I would rather.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
like,
American muscle cars racing around there.
yeah, why can't we do that? Why can't we have the modern Mustang racing against the modern Camaro or the modern, the Dodge Dart or the Dodge Charger, something like that, or the Dodge. What is the other one? There's a Dart, the Charger, and the
Durango.
well, why not? Hey, put a Ford Bronco out there. Why not? Hell, I would like to see that. Like, it would make it look cool, and then you could be like, hey, I love NASCAR, and I'm going to go buy myself a Ford Mustang because that's what Billy Joe Johnson drives, and I like him.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are still. I mean, well, I know you can go to like the quarter mile tracks and stuff like that, where you can still go and you can race your car against other people's cars, and you will see somebody's Mustang against their Civic or against their Camaro or
Yeah, but
against whatever.
not
But it's
NASCAR
not. Yeah, it's
stock racing. Like
no,
I
and
would be
it's
less mad at
very
NASCAR if they would just get rid of the stock from the name, because at this
yeah.
point you're not driving.
Well,
There's
it's not
nothing
stock at
stock.
all.
There's nothing there anymore at all. There's not even a shell of a car that at least
Right.
it used to be in the 80s. Please do yourself a favor. Go home, look up like NASCAR 70s, NASCAR 80s. Those cars are gorgeous and they're diverse. And like I would watch that today.
Yeah, and that'd be a lot cooler because, like I said, you can still go and you can see that. But the trouble is, you're going to see a bunch of hobbyist amateurs,
Yeah. I
and
want to
you're
see
not.
professionals.
You're seeing some dude who put new headers on his Honda Civic trying to break 14 seconds in the quarter mile or whatever the hell. I don't know what a fast
Yeah.
time in the quarter mile is.
Yeah, I have
Disclaimer.
no idea. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I
That
don't
might,
know
that
anything
could
about
be
racing. It's
slow.
not
That
my
could be super fast. I don't know, but in
it's not
any
my
case,
thing.
that's what you're seeing
So
when you go to see the actual you know car
So obviously
cars race.
NASCAR today, it still exists. It is actually extremely popular, even with the world, which I was kind of shocked when I learned
Yeah.
about this. There are multiple series, including the Cup Series, which is the race. This is where all the big guys race at. You've
Right.
got the Xfinity Series, which is like your minor leagues to the Cup Series. Your big guys typically don't drive in the Xfinity. They drive on Saturday. The big guys drive on Sunday. They drive on
So the
God's day.
Xfinity series, it's like a B league type
It's like a
deal.
B league, yeah. It's like where
Okay.
a lot of the rookies race and
Okay.
stuff. There is the Gander RV and Outdoor Truck Series, which is maybe why Gander Mount went out of business, because you backed the fucking NASCAR Truck Series.
And that's the thing. That has never been popular or done well. And like I've seen trucks race on dirt, like on TV and stuff. Like I've seen them race on dirt and I've seen them race on concrete and everything else. I never really understood why that didn't take off if NASCAR was so popular. I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
it's not
I don't
nearly
get
as
what
pop.
people are doing with the differences between the two and why
Yeah,
they don't like the trucks and they do like the cars. I
it's
don't know
not
what's
nearly
going
as
on there.
popular as the the Cup Series, or even the Xfinity Series is a hell of a
Yeah.
lot more popular. But but if you're a Southern fan and you got that Confederate flag and you're racing the trucks and you place 30th, you get offended by the Confederate flag not being allowed out there anymore, so you quit because you're a truck driver who placed the highest 30th. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they raced 30 trucks at a time.
Yeah. That dude who like claimed his retirement or whatever after
Yep.
winning nothing. Is that who you're talking about?
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he placed third. Like the highest he placed was like third. Anyways,
Yeah.
there's the
He was
ARCA
awful.
Menard Series, which is Midwest stock car racing, which I didn't know existed, but apparently they raced because I thought the only NASCAR series race that happened at Indy 500 uh, was
Brickyard.
was Brickyard. But no, there's a race this weekend,
Yeah, I
which
knew
is
there.
this.
I knew Indy hosted more races. I didn't know we had like a league or series or
Yeah,
cup around
this is
here.
the basically it's the ARCA Menard Series. It's for the Midwest region only. Again, it's
Okay.
like a seed, like it's like a
Right, right.
minor
Yeah,
league to
it's
minor
a
league. Yeah.
regional tournament to try to get a name and get your foot in the door to the bigger races.
Yeah, and there are even international, which I did know that there were more international race car drivers going to NASCAR, but I didn't know that there were actually international race car series. There's the Pinty Series up in Canada, and there's the Peak Series in Mexico.
Hmm.
And a lot of these drivers are coming to the United States, including European drivers that used to be like Formula One guys,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a little bit easier to drive a NASCAR. I'd
Yeah, I
imagine
would
they don't have to
imagine
like.
so. I've seen the interior of a Formula One car and I've seen the interior of a NASCAR, and it's basically the difference between a fighter jet and a Honda Civic.
Yeah, yeah. Um, But somewhere along the way, Johnny, the NASCAR fans, they lost their origins to the whole bootlegging, stick their finger to the police, get the police to
Rebellion,
chase
yeah,
you
after you
and
guys.
crash into the day. Because, nowadays, obviously, it's patriotic, and I'm not disparaging being a patriot or anything. But the fact of the matter is, NASCAR made a decision to get rid of the flag. And I'm not getting into politics to whether that's good or bad. It's good because I don't like that flag, but that's beside the point. So, NASCAR fans at home, if you like the Confederate flag and you want to reunite the feeling of what what the founding of NASCAR was, the bootlegging, prohibition, or anti-prohibition. Let's stick it to the man. Here's your flag.
This is your this is you
Go
this
out.
is your pitch. for NASCAR to
Legitimately.
change their flag, the flag that they fly in the back of their trucks and everything from
Yeah,
the Confederate flag, which is now obvious. It's a symbol of racism. Whether
and
whatever
it's
you
and it's
believe about it, that's what people see it as.
yeah.
To the Whiskey Rebellion flag, which no one's gonna have ever seen that before.
Nobody's
Literally,
gonna
I
see
would
this.
guess 0.5% of the population would know what
Even
the
knows
hell
what the
that
hell
is,
it is.
and maybe even less than that.
I
And
didn't
it's
know
a
what it was
dope
before.
flag.
I wouldn't have been able to point out the Whiskey Rebellion flag before I did the episode on it. I didn't even know they had a flag until I did the research for it.
No,
So, but this is it.
it's a cool flag too.
It's not a bad. If
Yeah.
you're watching on YouTube,
Yeah, you got Eagle on it. He's holding a ribbon with red and white, which is symbolic of
13
some things, I'm
stars.
sure.
Yeah, it's not a bad flag. In fact, if I ever go to a NASCAR event, I'm gonna be waving it. You're gonna see me on the channel 11 or whoever does that. I don't know. And I'm
You're
about,
gonna
woo,
confuse so
NASCAR.
many people, Tommy. They're not gonna know what the hell you're doing.
Well, maybe I'll, and I
They're
will
like, "Are
never
you
afford the good
offending
seat.
us? I don't know, and I'm gonna shoot you for it." I don't know very
NASCAR.
many NASCAR
So
fans. I'm
there's
guessing
my
that's how they
pitch.
are, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna leave on the note. There's my pitch. Buy a Whiskey Rebellion flag. Go home, buy that, fly it at the track, have fun. You will not get kicked out for that. That is not a sign of race. Well, they did murder a bunch of slaves that were forced to fight against them,
But it's not a well-established symbol of racism and hate.
it is not a symbol of racism. No, it is not.
Yeah.
So
Until this takes off, and then everybody comes back to you pitching this as an idea, as an origin story of this, and you get smeared as some horrid
all three
racist.
listeners, and of those three listeners, that one of them might actually go to a NASCAR. I don't think out of the people that I know that listen to this, I don't know if any of them actually watch NASCAR. But
I'm guessing it's a pretty small crossover.
if you do, and you are going to go to a race, take a Whiskey Rebellion flag with you.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about the Colorado Cannibal.